Jack, what day is it?
What day is it? Oh
What
my
day is it?
god!
It's the summer
literally
solstice! Isn't that
That's
cool?
insane. That is wild. Oh my god. Not gonna be pertinent at all when this episode releases. But holy shit, that's crazy.
We had to record one day late this one time, unintentionally, and that has led to us recording on the summer solstice.
Wow. Literally finishing the quest. Oh my god. Oh, that's so dope, Connor. That's so sick.
Hello, and welcome to Notes from the Oracle. I'm Connor, and together with Jack, my co-host from Cabin 6, we're going beyond Half-Blood Hill to take a closer look at the electrifying mythology of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Book 1, The Lightning Thief. Chapter 21, I Settle My Tab. As far as chapter titles go, I'm going to give this one another, 6 or 7 out of 10. But as far as chapters go...
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, I'm just so excited, man. I'm giving the chapter title, that's a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4 out of 10. This chapter's so fucking good, though.
Who cares? Yeah, move
I don't
on.
even... Dude, fuck the chapter title this time. This is peak. It's peak, Connor.
And you know what really tells us that this chapter has everything we need, Jack? 3 sentences in, and I'm already fuming about...
I'm already pissed! Yeah, man! You know what? Let's just do it. No preamble. We're going into it right now.
Hit him with
penultimate chapter. We're not holding anything back. Let's go. Percy is explaining, man, it's crazy how humans are able to, warp their perception of reality to make things fit how they want to imagine it. Which, as a philosophical concept, that's very interesting. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how Percy says, Chiron told me long ago that people will fit what they want into their version of reality. As usual, I didn't appreciate his wisdom until much later. What wisdom? What wisdom, Connor, throughout this whole book? What was the wisdom?
I find it interesting that you took issue with the wisdom part. I took more issue with the as usual. When else has this guy been fucking right?
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Specifically, Chiron and wisdom? You're telling me the one piece of actual good advice we've gotten from Chiron, and it's Percy talking about it anecdotally? Are you kidding me?
It's not even useful wisdom. It's just an explanation. This is just a fact of how the mist works. Guy who's been around for literal millennia, eternity, tells you one thing that's right.
Yeah. Here's the thing, man. And maybe Percy's saying, oh, Chiron told me perception is reality, and reality is perception. And that, again, that is a beneficial piece, a nugget of wisdom. But that's also not super, deep and unheard of. That's not a Chiron original. And again, I think, yes, emphasis on the as usual part of it. We didn't see that at all. We didn't see that at all throughout this book.
Yeah, Jack, I try not to make a habit of referencing things that the audience cannot see, but I just texted Jack a picture of my notes in my book. It is a direct quote that you just yelled out, and I wrote it in all caps.
Connor, I'm gonna send you a picture, and I want you to know it says the exact same thing.
Dude, same wavelength. Same wavelength.
For those at home, we both have that, as usual. I didn't appreciate his wisdom until much later. We both have it highlighted with our blue highlighters, and we both wrote, what wisdom, with multiple question marks.
That's perfect. I'll post these to our Blue Sky or something, and I'll link them in the show notes, because that's too perfect.
We're going to push past that first paragraph and get to the actual good stuff. I promise from here on out, I have no complaints. Okay.
Oh, me neither. Honestly, I was thrilled to see it, because in a weird way, it has become endearing to me to see that level of dumb fuckery from Chiron. He's not even in this chapter.
Yeah,
but, yes.
He's the free space in Notes from the Oracle bingo. He has effectively become the free space. I have just
Oh
relished
my
that fact.
god.
I have come to terms with it. But for
Yeah.
the sake of everybody, let's move on.
Yep.
Here, we get to see how the humans, the mortals, have been perceiving all of the crazy events from the last month. According to the LA News, the explosion at Santa Monica Beach had been caused by a crazy kidnapper firing a shotgun at a police car and hitting a gas main that ruptured during the earthquake. And the crazy kidnapper is the same guy who had abducted Percy and two other unknown adolescents in New York and then stolen them, absconded with them across the country on a 10-day odyssey. Little reference, little Odyssey
Huh?
reference. A 10-day odyssey of terror. And I really do like the next few paragraphs are basically just like, I don't want to say hand waving away everything, but recontextualizing everything in a way that's like totally clears Percy of his name, puts the onus of all the crazy shit that's happened on Ares, who again, the mortals are literally never going to catch. So womp womp.
Yep.
It's net zero. And it's all good. We're all Gucci now. In the span of the first page and a half, Rick says, yeah, Percy's not a criminal anymore. We can forget about that now. It's all figured out. And honestly, masterfully done.
I think the craziest part of all of that is you read it and you go, yeah, that makes sense. I buy that. Anyhow, moving on. Like,
Uh-huh.
it works really well. And I do also love the idea that somewhere out there, someone is making a true crime podcast about Ares. And they're like, where is this man? Other individuals have reported seeing him. In fact, he could even be seen in this World War I era photograph.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's become like this weird urban legend like DB Cooper.
Yes, exactly. And I find that very fun because, as you said,
Yeah.
they're never gonna catch this guy.
No, never. He's gone. He is, for the sake of the mortals, he's disappeared. They are never going to get him. But yeah, again, and I've talked about this before. The way that Rick thinks of things and problem solves, and again, does that recontextualizing from what actually happened in the world of gods and monsters into the, perception and reality of man is just so clever that it makes me jealous. Some of the stuff he comes up with is great. And I just love that one of the things he included is that Percy is now effectively an American hero.
Yeah.
Because in LA, when they're on the beach fighting each other and they're going classic style with their swords, it was actually a battle shotgun to rifle on the beach. Percy is
Love.
fending off this madman with a fucking rifle.
No, dude, I loved that. I loved just the little Percyism in here too. Finally, brave Percy Jackson, open parentheses. I was beginning to like this kid, close parentheses, had stolen a gun from his captor in Los Angeles and battled him shotgun to rifle on the beach. So cool. So
Uh-huh.
cool. And you know what? These kids deserved a break, man. I feel like that's also part of why I'm just like, yeah, of course the mystery wrote everything. Of course they get off scot-free. Why wouldn't they? They've been through so much trauma. Let them
Yeah.
have this one win, man.
Yeah. Maybe that's part of the reason this chapter does feel so good. It's very cathartic. They're finally getting their dues. Finally. In a good way.
Yeah.
And I do like how, as goofy and silly as the first part is, and like makes you fist pump, and it's like, you did it. They made it. They're off scot-free. They're acquitted. Whatever. There are some points where Percy specifically says, like, we had to act tearful and exhausted, which wasn't hard. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, they've been through a lot. They've been through a lot. But I also like going back to more of the silly, spiteful Percy. Rick, in this chapter alone, reminds us about Gabe, who has come up multiple times throughout the book when he isn't there, right? He has been a lingering antagonist that Percy will think back to. But Rick is planting that seed again of like, all right, don't forget about this guy. He's not just gone and forgotten. He's still there and an obstacle that remains from Percy's mortal life that has to be overcome.
Yeah.
And Percy, very much from the beginning of the book wanting to lash out against Gabe and fight back and defend his mother's honor and defend his honor, right? Has gone through enough to where he is comfortable. And we'll see this later in the chapter as well, but here we see it. He is comfortable with stirring the pot and doing what Percy Jackson does best, which is piss people the fuck off who deserve it.
I loved this. Keep going.
And as he's talking to these reporters and he's choking back his tears, which at this point are probably very real, but now you can tell he's just reveling in it. He says, "All I want is to see my loving stepfather again. Every time I saw him on TV calling me a delinquent punk, I knew somehow we would be okay. And I know he'll want to reward each and every person in this beautiful city of Los Angeles with a free major appliance from his store. Here's the phone number."
Dude,
Got his phone number. It's so good.
you rereading it still has me giggling. I have no notes. Frankly, I just highlighted the whole thing and said this passage is perfect.
Yeah, it is. Percy is such a conniving little stinker.
Yes.
And this is up there with him sending Medusa's head to Olympus, which again will also be important in this chapter. But honestly, this might beat it out for me as being the most conniving, simply because it's like, dude, I wouldn't even have been thinking of that at that point. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm still alive. I'm exhausted. I want to leave. He's like, yeah, I'm basically at the edge of death and I'm not running on any sleep and I'm starving, but I still got enough in the tank to say fuck you to Gabe.
Oh, yeah. Always more to piss off Gabe.
Mm-hmm. And we get another explanation. We knew that the trio was going to have to fly back to New York.
Yes.
How are they going to do that? They have no money. They're not going to sneak on a plane. The moving stories that they've shared rallied enough support to where they were able to fund 3 tickets back to New York City. So there we go.
I don't care
They
what
solved their
plane
money
tickets
problem.
cost in 2005. That's the most unrealistic thing in this book.
Yeah, you don't think people would rally behind these 3 kids to send them back home?
Sure, man, they might have, but are they really putting multiple $1,000 or at least $1,000 into a hat in cash?
Now, Connor, when Rick writes, they were so moved they passed around the hat, did you take that literally?
You know, I did, and I realize now that they passed around the hat could very much mean something in a metaphorical sense,
Uh-huh.
and perhaps someone just paid for it with a credit card on a laptop.
Yeah. Yep. So I am not going to insult you or deride you or tease you about this, Connor. I'm going to just let you sit with that. I'm going to say that, yes, you're right, Connor. It's a metaphor. Pass around the hat means you just garner support and get some money from people in the name of some cause.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
idea of,
yeah.
when you pass around the hat, it's you're getting whatever people can give at the time. So it's not one big donation, it's a couple quarters from everybody that adds up. But I could see where you'd be a little
Dang.
confused.
I
How could they
was
fit that much money in the hat? Speaking of hats, have you lost your English hat? I think you need to put that back on, dude. Let's recalibrate. We're going to rally from that misstep because now it's scary. Uh-oh.
Yeah, now it's flight time.
Yeah, great. Oh, we've got the money to go into the most, I guess, honestly, deadly stretch of the encounter outside of traveling the underworld,
Yeah.
flying through the sky.
If you think about it, it might even be the most deadly encounter. Zeus or Hades.
Yeah,
I might pick Hades.
yeah, I probably would too. Zeus was basically watching every single second. He could have just blasted him out of the sky. He could have done whatever he wanted. At least with Hades, you have a chance of fighting through whatever he sends.
Percy is sitting here going, takeoff was a nightmare. Every spot of turbulence was scarier than a Greek monster. Another time where he is now starting to contextualize his scenarios and his reality around his lived experience as a demigod. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
He mentions that he didn't unclench his hands from the armrest until we touched down safely at LaGuardia. Then they have a pretty good plan, I would say, for evading the press. Simple but effective. Annabeth lures them away with the invisible hat and says, "They're over here!" Which, honestly, again, no notes. Good work, kids. That's a
Yep,
really
fair
smart
enough.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're starting to have to transition to the good
Yeah.
stuff. And with that, I feel like there's a moment where Rick decided, I want to really focus in on just Percy's experience.
Yes.
Make him uncomfortable, make it truly visible how small he is in comparison to these gods. And so Grover and Annabeth, they're sent off to Camp Half-Blood. And I like his reasoning of, I wanted Grover and Annabeth to survive to tell Chiron the truth. So he sends them back off to camp so that they are guaranteed to live. And with that, he hops in a taxi, he heads to Manhattan, and walks into the lobby of the Empire State Building for just balancing back and forth, terrifying plane ride, comedic encounter with the guard at the door trying to get to Olympus. Because this was also genuinely just some really good peak Percy Jackson humor.
Yeah. I like that this is also one of the first instances that I can think of where Percy confidently is like, nah, you know about the magic shit. You know about this.
I'm
I'm
not
not going to
stupid.
question or ask, like, oh, maybe, I speak in code. He's just like, hey, you, desk guy, 600th floor. All right, stop reading your book. 600th floor. I got to talk to Zeus. And even when the desk guy's like, oh, what are you talking about? He's like, you know what I mean? I
Yep.
want to see the big guy all the way at the top. And I do like that the guy at the desk is like, yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
right. You got me dead to rights. You're not seeing Zeus. You don't have an appointment.
His response is just perfect. Oh, I think he'll make an exception. And he unzips the backpack and just shows the master bolt. And the guy goes, that isn't. Yes, it is. You want me to take it out and no, no, no.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
like, please keep the
Percy.
nuclear weapon in the bag,
Yeah,
sir.
that's exactly what I said. He just whipped out a nuke and said, do you want me to do it? I'll do it. So, of course, the desk guy is like, yeah, fucking whatever. Get out of here. You insane man. Just leave. Go up.
I love that there's probably very few things that can truly kill immortals. But this has got to be one of those things that, man, I feel like the Master Bolt could obliterate other gods even. Like, you
Oh,
see that, you go, yep,
yes.
all right, you win.
It's the fucking checkmate. There's nothing greater than it.
And so with that, Percy gets the secret key card that allows to plug into the security slot and make a new button appear on the console, a red button that says 600.
Yeah. Which is neat. It's very simple. I just like the idea that, oh, yeah, it's top of the Empire State Building because there's a secret magic item that you have to use, and now there's a special button. It's clean, it's basic, doesn't have to gild the lily or anything. Just like, there it is. I
And
like
it's
that.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is fun. What's also fun, and this is me putting English hat / conspiracy helmet on.
Ooh.
Percy presses the button, and he waits, and then Muzak starts playing. And Rick writes that the music played says, raindrops keep falling on my head. Now, that's a real song, and that means a few things. One, raindrops falling on his head, Zeus, right?
Yep.
The song that is being played is specifically about a guy who is okay being in the rain. He's okay with raindrops falling on his head. The world is so beautiful. And I like the idea that this is Percy accepting his situation and facing it head on. This is also the song that plays in Spider-Man 2.
This is that song? Okay.
This is the song in Spider-Man 2 where Peter Parker gives up being Spider-Man. He says, I'm done, I quit. And he throws it away, and then it hard cuts into a montage of him walking around the city, not saving people, and there's just this kind of happy, jolly song playing in the background while he eats a hot dog and does well in school and watches the police deal with things they can't handle. And he's okay with it. And that, I like to think, this is where we get English conspiracy kind of realm. I like to think that that is a reference that Rick specifically made, not just because Zeus does rain, even though that is a very clear A to B. But I like to think he is contrasting with Spider-Man 2, where Peter Parker is denying the superheroic aspect of himself and becoming contented with his mortal life, whereas here, Percy has fully accepted his godly nature and is facing it head on by heading up to the realm of the gods.
I love that. Honestly, I have no notes. If I had one note, it's that I
So
know
you do have a note. You lied to me.
Yeah, I did lie to you. If I
That was
have one note,
immediate.
it is that this book, while published in 2005, according to Rick, the first draft was written in '03, and Spider-Man 2 was released in '04. So there's a potential that it was changed later and was 100% deliberate, but there's also a chance that this was in the original draft and a coincidence that they share the same thing. But I think either way you look at it, the interpretation of he is accepting of the rain, he's happy to be out in the rain, he's kind of come into this demigod life and he's actually for the first time starting to enjoy it. Like when he leaves Olympus, there are going to be immortal spirits and other gods, minor gods, but still gods, that bow and show him praise. And I feel like he's worked so hard, he's been through so much. I do think that this is an acceptance of, you know what, I've been different this whole time. I haven't found my place, and I finally found it here in the rain. I think that's a great interpretation, Jack. I think that's an awesome catch.
It is. And also, the Spider-Man 2 thing was right. I'm not going to elaborate anymore. I'm going to say that that is correct. So,
Fair enough. You know what? That
yeah.
convinces me. Do you want my minor? I'll send
Yeah,
it.
actually. Please, yes. I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, no, you've earned it. It'll be in the mail.
But yes, Percy accepts. He's listening to this music. And finally, ding, the doors slide open. And this next section, you're going to hear me say this a lot this chapter, if I haven't already. It's just so good. It's just so good. The next several paragraphs explaining how Percy sees and interprets Mount Olympus and then him actually going through Mount Olympus is just mwah. Chef's kiss, molto bene. Could not be any better. He steps out. He's standing on a narrow stone walkway in the middle of the air, and far below him is Manhattan, as though he's from the height of an airplane. And in front of him, white marble steps wound up the spine of a cloud into the sky, which I love that phrase, the spine of a cloud. And his eyes keep following the stairway to its end. And this is where Rick writes, "My brain just could not accept what I saw." Next paragraph, single line. "Look again," my brain said. New line. "We're looking," my eyes insisted. "It's really there."
The whole description for Olympus, I had a couple of things that were going through my head. One, really phenomenal description.
Mm-hmm.
Two, very interesting that it is described as the way Athens must have looked 2,500 years ago. In so many other places, and I'm going to talk about the entrance to the underworld, right? As one of the best examples of this. You see this cohesive merging of the modern world with the traditional Greek. And this almost entirely neglects it outside of the Empire State Building being how you get up to it. And I thought that that was a really interesting parallel of they truly do not concern themselves with the mortals, even so far as enough to know what a proper mortal luxury would be, outside of some of the small things like there's Hephaestus TV, there's a crowd gathered for a concert, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, this is one of the most traditionally ancient Greek things we've seen. And I think that speaks to the disconnect of the gods, the level to which they do not truly understand human culture, even if they pretend to.
Mm-hmm.
I also Googled how much a mountain can weigh because Percy says This place can't be here. The tip of a mountain hanging over New York City like a billion-ton asteroid? So I was like, would it be a billion tons? He's actually pretty close. If we
Okay.
assume so, an average mountain on Earth apparently weighs roughly 2.8 times 10 to the 11th power pounds. So, that means you could just get rid of the 2, reduce by 3 of the zeros, and you get an average mountain weighing about a billion tons.
Wow. Look at you, math boy.
I did the
There's
math.
2, drop the zeros, divide it by 3, and yep, about a billion tons.
That's it. I just thought that that's the type of thing that people would want to know, Jack. They'd want to know
I
that
was
Percy's estimate was correct.
Yeah, oh, I was clamoring for it.
But there he is on Olympus. He mentions that it's like a daze,
Yeah.
that hawkers in the market offer to sell him ambrosia on a stick, a new shield, a genuine glitterweave replica of the Golden Fleece. It's just pure, unadulterated opulence.
Yeah.
Reminder, ambrosia, things that mortals would kill for, and they're selling it like street food, like a hot dog.
Yeah, I clocked that. The opulence is insane. It is nuts. And it makes sense. I mean, this is the best place outside of literal paradise. Yeah, they're gonna have all the good shit. They got Lululemons on the corners. They got Five Guys everywhere. They got everything. It's all good.
And to make a Hunger Games comparison, how oddly the capital of them that nobody seemed worried about an impending civil war.
Yes.
In fact, everybody seemed in a festive mood. Percy hasn't delivered the Master Bolt,
Yes.
the thing that is leaving all of Olympus on the precipice of war with itself. And they're all
Mhm.
just casually going about their day, assuming that it'll all end up fine. It just drives home the insane level of not just opulence or privilege, but the disconnect, the
Yeah.
lack of being in tune with reality, even for things that would affect them. A war of the gods, no doubt,
Uh-huh.
especially if it's supposed to be the biggest civil war ever in all of history, would be terrible and would leave Olympus in ruin. Undoubtedly. And they're just
Yeah.
going about their day.
But surely it wouldn't happen to them, Connor. And you say, oh, it's kind of invokes the Hunger Games. Obviously, the Hunger Games just invokes real life.
Yeah.
The more rich and sheltered that a people become, the more entitled they are to that sense of peace and security, not understanding that that is something you have to work and fight for. That
Yeah.
complacency is what kills. And their peace and opulence and riches and safety and Hephaestus TV and all their creature comforts come from the backs of these heroes that fight and die for them to maintain that lifestyle. And the one that is currently going to deliver that lifestyle to them again and allow it to maintain, they're being kind of assholes. Like they're just giggling and chiding and throwing things at him. And yeah, maybe it's playful, but this guy, specifically Percy, says he looks borderline homeless. He's covered in scratches and bruises. His clothes are tattered. And these little nymphs and naiads and minor gods are just tittering at him. Like, how quaint. Look at him.
He's like a zoo animal. Oh, look at the
Yeah.
little human hero. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. And as Percy is walking through all of this, again, wonder, and I hate that I keep using this word, but it's the best thing to describe it, opulence, he's not distracted by it. He's in a daze as he's walking through this place and in a fugue state for, I'm sure, several reasons. But as he's going through the main roads and towards the palace, he's thinking of very deep, introspective concepts. He's thinking about other people outside of himself. He's actually thinking about Hades, which
Yeah.
I love. The guy who took his mother, that tried to kill him, that effectively tried to level LA, and he feels sympathy. He feels sympathy for the guy. He says, I'm climbing the main road and toward the big palace at the peak. It was a reverse copy of the palace in the underworld. There, everything had been black and bronze. Here, everything glittered white and silver. I realized Hades must have built his palace to resemble this one. He wasn't welcome in Olympus except on the winter solstice, so he'd built his own Olympus underground. Despite my bad experience with him, I felt a little sorry for the guy. To be banished from this place seemed really unfair. It would make anybody bitter. And by the time he finishes that thought, he's at the courtyard. His time in the most wonderful place known to mortals and immortals, and he's just like, wow, how unfair to this guy that wronged me.
It shows so much character. It highlights his heroism. It's just what you would expect out of a character that you're going to spend 10, 13, or more books with. And it just drives home that this is a person you want to root for.
Yeah.
That is the type of thing that we try to teach others. You tell this to like a 5-year-old. When someone treats you poorly, you think maybe they've had a bad day. Golden rule, treat others as you wish to be treated. Suddenly, Percy is realizing Hades has been mistreated. Maybe I didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. And that is such emotional maturity.
And this is so important, not just to Percy's character, but for what happens later in the chapter. Because we see that Percy is not heartless. He actually has the biggest heart. And he can find the good, or at least attempt to find the good, in even the most terrifying things that he has faced, in the most insurmountable of odds that willfully blocked his way. He is able to say, I feel bad for Uncle Hades. And that is going to matter later, because we'll put a pin in it, but it shows that he is not just an outright psycho, like I have joked about throughout this book, but that he also learns, yeah, some people just aren't, there's nothing. There's just nothing. Or maybe more importantly, the takeaway is, wow, Percy can find literally nothing redeemable about this person. He found something redeemable with the god of death that took his mother.
Yeah.
So again, we'll put a little pin in that for now. But that entire little section is what I think allows the end of this chapter to work without fault.
It makes everything that much more cohesive and smooth. I 100% agree. And of course, from there, you transition into Percy now heading into the throne room. 12 thrones, built for beings the size of Hades, were arranged in an inverted U, just like the cabins at Camp Half-Blood. An enormous fire crackled in the central hearth pit. The thrones were empty except for 2 at the end. So he is walking up, and he's now realizing that he is seeing Zeus and his father. And we get descriptions of them. I will go over them somewhat quickly, since I think, despite them being very good, that you can go read good descriptions, and I don't think they add too much from a textual analysis perspective. It mentions that Zeus wore a dark blue pinstriped suit, sat on a simple throne of platinum, had a well-trimmed beard, marbled gray and black like a storm cloud. The air around him, Percy notes, it crackles and smells of ozone. And then he sees Poseidon, who, I must reiterate, at some point must have undergone some crazy character development to go from angry, raging, wrathful sea god to, he reminded me of a beachcomber from Key West. He wore leather sandals, khaki Bermuda shorts, and a Tommy Bahama shirt with coconuts and parrots all over it. His skin was deeply tanned, his hands scarred like an old-time fisherman's. His hair was black, like mine, but his face had that same brooding look that had always gotten me branded as a rebel.
Yeah. It also says that his eyes, being sea green, are surrounded by sun crinkles that
Hmm.
told Percy that he smiles a lot.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I don't know that those scars are from fishing vessels. Those
No.
might be from seafaring warfare.
Yep, probably. Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this really cool duality of Poseidon's personification. There is this grizzled, weather-worn exterior that if you look past it, you can see a guy who, like the ocean, it can be raging one moment and woe be unto those who are caught in its wakes, and other times are peaceful and a source of tranquility and can lull you to sleep at night and a source of food and life. Yeah, it's really good.
It's really, really good. And brief note before I just completely gloss over it. We do also get a description of Poseidon's throne, which is a deep sea fisherman's chair, a simple
Yeah,
swiveling kind with a black leather seat, and a built in holster for a fishing pole. Instead of a pole, the holster held a bronze trident flickering with green light around the tips. That's it. It's just fun. You go from
yep,
very serious description of Zeus to there's some depth there in the Poseidon description to, yeah, he's sitting on a fisherman's chair for his throne. How do you like that?
yep,
It's like,
yep.
all right, cool. Yeah, makes sense. I'll give it to you.
And Connor, is that exceedingly lame? Yes.
No, no, it's not at all. It's really fun, actually.
Then we'll debate. I do think it's very lame. However, where I do think it is fun, and this is entirely headcanon, I like the idea of the gods are like picking what they're gonna look like and what aspects of the modern world they're gonna take. Again, Zeus has this throne made of platinum. It's sleek, it's powerful, it shows that he's in charge. And Poseidon could have anything. It could be like a coral reef and the bones of dead fishermen or whatever, right? He can sky's the limit with him. And instead, he's like, you know what would kind of piss off Zeus? What if I just made it like a dinky fisherman chair? And he did it and just like, you can't do that, dude. Come on. We're gods. He's like, I can. I can because I'm a god. I'm allowed
My
to schlep it
throne.
around.
I'm going to do what I want. I
Exactly.
actually was about to go very much the same direction, but slightly differently, in that I think you could also argue that if he's trying to change his appearance to appeal to Percy, that it makes him appear more homey, that might evoke that similar sort of feeling of Montauk that we've talked about and how that means a lot to Percy and his nostalgia. I'm sure out there he's seen these sorts of fisherman boats. He obviously identifies the fisherman's chair immediately. So I think you could argue that, or he could be just trying to piss off Zeus. It's hard to say. Either way, I'm not going to disagree that he absolutely could have gone more grandiose. I just think there's enough really good stuff in this chapter that I was like, you know what? That's funny. We can
Yeah,
have that little moment of levity.
that's fair. And I'll give it that. I will give it that. This chapter earned the deep sea fisherman chair.
It did, because it then rolls into, and I love all of this interaction that comes up. I've
Oh my
said that.
god, yes.
I love everything about this chapter. We're just going to keep saying that. But the way they characterize Zeus, Poseidon, and Percy, and the way that these three characters play off one another is perfect.
Yeah.
Percy walks forward. He says, I approached the fisherman's throne and knelt at his feet. Father, I dared not look up. My heart was racing. I could feel the energy emanating from the two gods. If I said the wrong thing, I had no doubt they could blast me into dust. To my
Yeah.
left, Zeus spoke. Should you not address the master of this house first, boy? Percy keeps his head down. He waits. Very smart of him. Peace, brother, Poseidon finally said. You literally only get two sentences from these characters, and Percy's just panicking, like not even trying to say things if he doesn't have to. And crazy that this is one of the few times Percy holds his tongue, and it
Yeah.
all just works. It tells you everything you need to know going into this next interaction in
Mhm.
less than a third of a page.
Yes. And I would also like to say the tension becomes palpable like immediately. In case that wasn't abundantly clear, the rest of this chapter basically, while Percy is on Olympus, there really aren't any jokes. There's not a whole lot of like banter. It's just a really profound interaction between a kid and his dad, his estranged father, and the uncle that wants him dead. And it's so well done. Honestly, I'm shocked at how well this reads for, again, middle grade fiction, Connor.
It's easy to lose sight of that, isn't it?
It is! I'm
It's
reading a
really easy
child's
to lose
book.
sight of that. Yep. In this chapter in particular, like across the book, yes. But in this chapter, in this moment right now, it is so easy to go, oh my God, the tension is so high, the stakes are so high, and the tone has shifted very naturally, very smoothly. But suddenly you are reading a different book that is much more mature in its level of
Yes.
seriousness.
It's a
And it just
drama.
works.
Yeah. It is a heart-wrenching drama. You
Yeah.
get a lot of Poseidon will say something or Zeus will say something, and Percy does hold his tongue, but obviously, as the reader, we can hear his inner monologue, and his heart is just kind of shattering throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
It's big emotions, man.
Just to make it so abundantly clear, I just read the first interaction that sparks this all off, and I think is the moment when you start to realize the tone has shifted. Literally, the next line is Poseidon looking to Zeus and saying, "The boy defers to his father. This is only right." Zeus then replies, "You still claim him then? You claim this child whom you sired against our sacred oath? I have admitted my wrongdoing. Now I would hear him speak." And Percy, as you said, in his head is going, wrongdoing? A lump welled
Yeah.
up in my throat. Was that all I was? A wrongdoing? The result of a god's mistake?
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of the way in Thor comics that the font changes when the gods are talking.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think that when the gods are talking, their font should be different because suddenly you hear this, the boy defers to his father. This is only right. This isn't how people talk.
Yeah. It's not how anybody's talked in this book.
It's not how exactly. Not even Mr. D, not even Hades. We are on
Yeah.
Olympus in the throne room, and that pomp and circumstance seems to drive forth this need for distinction through
Mhm.
words, the way they present themselves. I think it really helps to hammer home thematically the gap between these characters in their circumstances, Percy as immortal, them as gods, and how much more this conflict means to the mortal than it does to the gods. It's so well done. I could stop after every line of dialogue and talk about it for 20 minutes. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna try and keep us moving. Please have some
I know.
thoughts.
Yep. I'm gonna really try to not belabor the same points over and over again, but this is all, guys, seriously read this chapter on your own. I'm begging you. It's really, really fucking good. But this is where, again, Rick, as I've thrown him his flowers many times before, plays with the formatting of dividing different lines up, starting new paragraphs, restarting them the line after, and he does that to draw emphasis to certain things, right? And so when Poseidon says, "I have admitted my wrongdoing, now I would hear him speak," skip a line. The only word on the next line is wrongdoing, period. And it just punches you in the chest. You can feel it. You can feel how it just weighs on Percy.
It's so good. It highlights it. It says, yeah, I don't care if this was middle grade fiction or a dark novel that is purely meant for adults. Whoever the audience is, this line right here, this word summarizes everything you need to know to encompass this character's entire state of mind for pretty much the rest of this entire discussion, this throne room scene. It is so well done. So well done.
And Zeus says, I've already spared him. How dare he insult me by flying through my domain? I should have blasted him out of the sky for his impudence. And honestly, when I was first reading that, and I think we even mentioned last chapter, like, how the hell are they going to fly? Like, how is that going to make sense? And maybe I'm not smarter than a 12-year-old, but Poseidon lays it out, and it is a good answer. I don't feel like it's a cop-out. He's like, you wouldn't risk destroying your own master bolt.
Yeah.
At this point, he's here. Let's hear him out, which is fair. And Zeus grumbles and begrudgingly hand waves and says, I shall listen. And then I shall make up my mind whether or not to cast this boy down from Olympus. And we get this next interaction. Perseus, Poseidon said, look at me. And this is all in Percy's head. He says, I did, and I wasn't sure what I saw in his face. There was no clear sign of love or approval, nothing to encourage me. It was like looking at the ocean. Some days you could tell what mood it was in. Most days, though, it was unreadable, mysterious. Then it continues. I got the feeling Poseidon really didn't know what to think of me. He didn't know whether he was happy to have me as a son or not. And in a strange way, I was glad that Poseidon was so distant. If he'd tried to apologize, or told me he loved me, or even smiled, it would have felt fake. Like a human dad making some lame excuse for not being around. I could live with that. After all, I wasn't sure about him either.
What is there
Oh my
to say?
God.
What is there to say? Go read the fucking chapter, guys. Like,
Phenomenal.
am I going to sit here
Phenomenal.
and read the whole thing for you? Yeah, it's perfect.
It's so good. It's so good. And I just know that there are people out there, no matter how old you are, whether you're a kid or a grown-ass adult, who has read this section and felt so seen. Whether it was a parent who you were estranged from or left, or you just didn't get along with. In a way, it doesn't feel good, but at least you know you're not alone. Because
Yeah.
Rick is putting this on the page and saying, Percy sees you and he gets it.
It's not supposed to feel good. And it doesn't even leave you feeling upset or angry. It has this melancholic weight,
Mm-hmm.
this cosmic indifference almost to it that is so hard to grapple with, and it just captures it so well.
Yeah. And you say cosmic indifference. I think if we dig a little bit further, because we do see that Poseidon is a god. All the gods are prone to emotion, but Poseidon especially, we'll see in this chapter a bit, but even in the later books, he is very in tune. He feels big. He loves big. He hates big, right? And when Percy says, I got the feeling Poseidon really didn't know what to think of me, it is right after the line where he says that the ocean is mysterious. His father is mysterious. And I like the idea that Poseidon is seeing that in Percy and saying, wow, you really are my son because I can't read you, just like the ocean, even though I'm the god of it. That is an aspect of myself that is imparted upon you. You are an enigma to me.
Dude, yes, so good. It's so good. And Poseidon then, he tells Percy to give Lord Zeus your story. And so Percy, he tells Zeus everything just as it had happened. Finally, at the end of his story, he takes the metal cylinder, which had began sparking at the sky god's presence, and laid it at his feet. Zeus summons the bolt to his hand after a pause. He takes it back in. There's another moment where he seems to be mulling over whether or not he's going to strike Percy with it. And then he mutters, I sense the boy tells the truth. But that Ares would do such a thing, it is most unlike him. And I could keep going on these two gods and their perfect interaction.
Yeah.
Because Poseidon comes back with, he is proud and impulsive. It runs in the family. And that's it. That's the end of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. And then Percy interjects. He points out that Ares wasn't acting alone. He explains the dreams he's been having.
One, just as a brief aside, I like that Rick doesn't belabor the point of retelling the entire story. It's
Yeah,
just Percy
good
says,
storytelling.
I tell him everything just as it had happened. And it kind of reminds me at like the end of Ratatouille, where they go out to the critic at the
Yep.
end, and it's just very short and curt. It's like, we waited for everybody to leave. They showed Remy Ratatouille to the critic, and he just kind of sat there and he asked a couple questions, and that was it. It felt like that. Like
Yeah.
everything, we know everything important. What's important now is how this person responds. And what is the response is a weird level of understanding and borderline apathy, which
Yeah.
is it's intimidating. That's a little unnerving.
Yeah, man.
And I also like Percy addresses both of them. And well, he addresses one of them, but he says Lord. And I like that they both immediately respond yes,
Yeah.
which
That's a
is
good
good.
one.
That just made me laugh.
It just keeps staying good. I would say it gets better, but frankly, I love all of it.
Hmm.
Because then you get to the part where he's talking about the dreams, and Zeus says, "You were accusing Hades after all." And he says, "No, actually, I met Hades. It's not him. It was something older than the gods. Something powerful and evil is stirring down there." And at this moment, I love, again, the characterization. They switch, Poseidon and Zeus switch back to ancient Greek. They have a quick, intense discussion, and Percy can only catch one word: father.
Hmm.
And then, clearly not having reached some sort of long lasting conclusion, but having reached at least enough of a conclusion for now, Zeus is done. He holds up his hand. He says, "We will speak of this no more." He stands up, and in the most dick move, he says, "I must go personally to purify this thunderbolt in the waters of Lemnos to remove the human taint from its metal." Bro, you do not have to go that hard. He is a child.
I know. Yeah, but he's a dirty human child.
He is 12. You are at least 12,000.
Yeah, but hey, let's give Zeus credit where it's due. He rises, he looks at Percy, he addresses him, and his expression does soften just a little bit. He says, "You have done me a service, boy. Few heroes could have accomplished as much." And good guy Percy, once again, giving credit where it's due, doesn't forget the people that helped get him there. He says, "I had help, Grover Underwood and Annabeth Chase." And Zeus immediately cuts him off again. Says, "To show you my thanks, I shall spare your life. I do not trust you, Perseus Jackson. I do not like what your arrival means for the future of Olympus, but for the sake of peace in the family, I shall let you live." So, good guy.
That's a positive outcome, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows his manners. He says, "Thank you." And Zeus says, "All right, you fucking rat. Couple of ground rules. One, never fly again." Never. That shit is never happening. "And don't let me find you here when I get back." Oh, interesting. We'll get to that in a second. He says, "Otherwise, I'm going to kill you. You will taste this bolt, and it shall be your last sensation." And then thunder shakes the palace. There's a blinding flash of lightning, and Zeus is gone. Now, okay, Zeus leaves. Connor, Zeus sucks. All right, we've said it before. We're gonna continue saying it. Zeus sucks, but he's giving Percy more of a gift than just letting him live. He's letting him be in private with his father.
Yup. And that's huge. This father son moment is huge. We get a little bit of a joke, and I like this. This feels like Poseidon is trying to level with Percy a little bit, trying to match his energy. He sighs. He says, "Your uncle has always had a flair for dramatic exits. I think he would have done well as the god of theater." And then it's another one of those moments where you point out there's a full line break, and it just says an uncomfortable silence.
Yep.
And then Percy says, "Sir, what was in the pit?" And I just love that Poseidon's like, you're smart enough. Have you not guessed? Percy's
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's Kronos.
Kronos.
And
Full
the
title drop.
room darkens. Names have
Mhm.
power.
Names have power again. At the very least, I'll give credit where it's due. Kronos' name does have power. All
Yeah,
right.
no, that one feels like it should. And it feels like it should, whether or not it even actually darkened the room, it would hold some level of significance that would seem to taint the sacred space more
Yeah.
than Percy could ever taint the Master Bolt.
Yeah.
I mean,
It,
damn.
it's like he's a cosmic plague. He's
Yeah,
just there. He's eternal. He's forever. And he is haunting, looming constantly. The sands of time, ever passing through the hourglass of divinity, and all that fancy stuff. But it's great. There is finally recognition. I'm sure most of the people that have read the book now that have even a modicum of understanding of Greek mythology are like, oh, it's Kronos that's been doing this. And now, name, title drop, Kronos, the king of the Titans. That's our big bad for this series.
great
Wow.
spot for it too. Right here at the
Mm-hmm.
like penultimate moments of book 1, and we start to get the story of the Titanomachy. And I just want to I'm waving a pin in the air. I'm putting a pin in. Poseidon grips his trident and he says, "In the first war, Percy, Zeus cut our father Kronos into 1,000 pieces, just as Kronos had done to his own father Uranos. Zeus cast Kronos' remains into the darkest pit of Tartarus." All right, we got that pin in there. We know what happened to Kronos. Good. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to come
You
back to
got
that in
chopped
the
up.
mid section.
Yeah. But I do like how this has been mentioned before, the idea of like immortals can't die.
Yeah.
And it's brought back up again. Poseidon says Titans cannot die any more than gods can. So whatever is left of Kronos is still alive in some hideous way, still conscious, in eternal pain, and hungering for power. And it gets sinister. That was already sinister, but it gets more sinister. Percy's like, oh, so he's healing, he's coming back. And Poseidon disagrees. He says there have been times over the past eons where Kronos has stirred. He enters men's nightmares and breathes evil thoughts. He wakens restless monsters from the depths. So he is, again, this evil that's lurking in the shadows in the background, that whenever the world gets so unlucky for him to stir, he's so powerful that even from the depths of Tartarus, he can impress his will upon things and
Yeah.
cause problems. I just love it. Breathes evil thoughts.
Yeah, man. He is not the monster that lurks in the night. He is the night that
He's the
spurs the
knight.
monsters to lurk.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then continuing forward, Poseidon says, Lord Zeus has closed discussion on this matter. You've completed your quest. That's all you need to do. Percy is about to argue and be like, but this is really bad.
Uh,
And he stops himself. And I was about to write in my book that, oh, that's not very Percy like. And Poseidon / Riordan beat me to it.
yep.
Faint smile played on his lips. Obedience does not come naturally to you, does it? No, sir. I must take some blame for that, I suppose. The sea does not like to be restrained.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good, right?
Yeah.
That's just good,
It
right?
is.
I just love
Yep.
that.
It's really good. It's really good.
And
And
then
I just realized we still have so much shit to go through.
we
So
have so much chapter,
we
yeah.
have so much. We have so much. Okay. So okay, great. Yep, there's this moment. They're bonding. They see things that are similar with each other. Poseidon has some pride. And we get another big old drop of, oh, crazy. He says, you gotta go. Your mom is back. And Percy's like,
Yeah.
what? My mom? He says, you will find her at home. Hades sent her back when his helm was returned. So Hades has his helm. And Poseidon says, the guy's got principles. Even the Lord of Death pays his debts. And honestly, if there was any god to really understand the idea of a debt, it probably would be Hades.
Yeah. That's actually what I wrote in my book was I feel like he's the most likely to. Like, come on. The sea is fickle, the sky is fickle, death is
Death is certain.
predictable. Death is certain. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course Hades upholds his end of the bargain. So then we move forward, and he mentions that there's going to be a package waiting for you in your room. We'll skip that. We'll come back to that. Poseidon then says this, and I'm just going to read the whole passage again because, yeah, it's the chapter is that good. Your mother is a queen among women, Poseidon
So
said
true.
wistfully. I had not met such a mortal woman in 1,000 years. Still, ... I am sorry you were born, child. I have brought you a hero's fate, and a hero's fate is never happy. It is never anything but tragic. I tried not to feel hurt. Here was my own dad telling me he was sorry I'd been born. Every immortal being over and over again has
Uh-huh.
beaten Percy over the head with the fact that you would be better off dead or not born at all. And here, even his own father says it.
Yep. Yeah.
Man,
I
do you hear that? That's the sound of the theme coming to smack you in the face.
I underlined that so many times, it almost tore through the page. Percy's trying to stay strong. He's trying to keep a stiff upper lip. He's trying to show that he is proud and righteous and deserves to be there. He says, I don't mind, father. And Poseidon just immediately responds, not yet, perhaps. Not yet. But it was an unforgivable mistake on my part. Like, holy shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Not good.
Yeah, no.
Bad.
And then, of course, we have to walk it back, and to keep us moving, Percy takes 5 steps when his dad calls. There's a different light in his eyes this time, a fiery kind of pride, specifically noted. You did well, Perseus. Do not misunderstand me. Whatever else you do, know that you are mine. You are a true son of the sea god. So it's not that he regrets Percy as a person. He regrets Percy's existence because he knows that he has damned his son to misery.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's fascinating because here's the other thing that you have to sort of compare this against. We know that the other children of the big three that we will learn of in the series are Bianca and Nico and Jason and Thalia. Bianca and Nico are the cause for the great prophecy. They come before that happens. Zeus is wooed by, quote, some starlet, and Poseidon mentions that the woman who works at the candy shop, who's never had money and has had a miserable, depressing life, is a queen among women. Poseidon, unlike Zeus, broke this oath because he was like, there are some people that just don't happen more than once.
Mhm.
And Sally Jackson is one of those people. And that is important context for when we get 15 minutes later, I was still in a trance, back on the streets of Manhattan, and Percy catches a taxi back to his mom's apartment.
Yeah. I do love thematically the idea of the quest in this book begins with Poseidon claiming Percy. And it's talked about throughout the book, and we've discussed the idea of this claiming was a sense of, it was pragmatic, it was necessary to avoid the war. Percy was
Yeah.
a
It was
tool
a
named
move on a chessboard.
demigod. Exactly. And the quest officially, finally ends with his father claiming him actually.
Yeah.
Man to man, or I guess God to man, father to son.
Yup.
You are mine. How beautiful. How beautiful, Connor.
Too
And
bad
we're
we
not
have to
even
deal
through
with
the chapter
Gabe.
yet.
I
There's still
know.
so much.
All right. Back to the speed run.
Back
Tearful
to the speed
reunion.
run. Yep.
It's beautiful. I'm going to skip over the details, but they're crying. Percy admits to mist in his eyes. If that boy wasn't bawling, he's lying
Oh,
to you.
I said I knew he was sobbing. I wrote that.
Yup. She said that she just appeared in the apartment like she got unsnapped by Thanos, just faded back in post blip, and Gabe was scared half out of his wits. She doesn't remember anything since the Minotaur. Gabe mentions that Percy's a wanted criminal, and, quote, Gabe had forced her to go into work saying she had a month's salary to make up. and she'd better get started. What
Yep.
an ass. I was just getting to the fight with Ares when Gabe's voice interrupted from the living room. Hey, Sally, that meatloaf done yet or what? Shut up, Gabe. My fucking God, this
I know.
dude is human trash.
From the point where he said that she's got to start getting back to work because he's missing out on her income. This is where, again, I referenced how with Hades, it's important that Percy had that moment of introspection where he's in the best place ever and thinking about somebody else who doesn't get to enjoy it. And how it shows that he is able to see past the bad and try and parse out the good. And this is where Rick really just hammers it in case we've forgotten how irredeemably fucking horrible Gabe Ugliano is. And it is cartoonish.
Bro, hold me back. I'm about to rip this man's throat out.
I know. Because, yes, he is the worst. I will say, Connor, those two lines of, yeah, she had a month's salary to make up, she better get started, and is the meatloaf done, did have me audibly laughing.
Oh, 100%. He's just,
Like,
he's so comically evil. What the fuck,
Yeah.
man?
And you just know, there are a few points in this book where I pointed out that I could just tell Rick was having a fucking ball.
Yeah.
Writing those lines for Gabe, I know he was just cackling to himself like, this is good.
I mean, you really
all the
feel
readers are
like,
gonna fucking hate this guy.
yeah, you really start to feel like, we gotta make this guy as shitty as possible, so he so fucking deserves what he gets.
Yeah, so we can get rid of him and everybody's cheers.
Yes.
Yeah. So Percy is getting frustrated, obviously, and Sally, the saint she is, closes her eyes and just steadies her breathing. It's like he isn't gonna be happy. Apparently the store's got like 500,000 phone calls today from LA, something about free appliances. And Percy's like, all right, yeah, so that was me. So I was like, we'll deal with that later. Just don't make him angrier, okay? And the apartment is in shambles. Not
Yep.
surprising. It's described as Gabe land. There's garbage that's ankle deep on the carpet. The sofa's been reupholstered in beer cans, dirty socks and underwear hanging off the lampshades. Gabe is chilling with his 3 stupid ass fucking poker buddies, and he's smoking his cigar. And he sees Percy, his face gets immediately so red. He's like, you got some nerve coming here, you little punk. And Sally's like, oh, he's actually not a fugitive. Isn't that wonderful? And Gabe's looking back and forth. And I do like this line. Percy thinks he didn't seem to think my homecoming was so wonderful. Which is the understatement of the century. And then we get another line that I'm sure Rick was just cackling to himself writing. It says, bad enough I had to give back your life insurance money, Sally.
Bro, what? What? Might I remind you that less than 2 pages ago, a god called this woman a queen among women.
A queen among women, and yep.
And he says, damn, that life insurance money, though.
Yeah.
Give me the phone, by the way. I'm gonna call the cops on your son.
And this is where, again, big fucking tone shift that I fucking forgot was in this book.
Yeah.
She says, Gabe, no. And he raises his eyebrows. He is shocked at this show of this impudence, this disrespect. He says, did you just say no? Do you want to put up with this? And Sally says, but, and she is cut off because he raises his hand and Sally flinches. I read that. I did a double take with reading. I read that a couple of times. I was like, there's what? Really? We have domestic abuse in Percy Jackson? As a child, I did not clock that. I just didn't get it. Or I didn't understand the weight of it, maybe. But reading this now is like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
It again, it adds a whole new layer, several layers, to what Sally has been putting up with for Percy's sake. And Percy realizes this as well. And because he's grown, he's a different person now from when he learned of his godly lineage and went on his quest and came back to tell the tale. It says, for the first time, I realized something. Gabe had hit my mother. I didn't know when or how much, but I was sure he'd done it. Maybe it had been going on for years when I wasn't around. And he just feels anger starting to fill his chest like a balloon. I'm sure he feels guilt, even though it's not his fault, but I'm sure he feels responsible or that he should have noticed or he could have done something or anything. And he, for the first time in this book, I'm not going to call him a psycho. He reaches for Riptide.
Yep. Dude, I'm like gripping my book mad. I
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring a little bit of perhaps misplaced levity to bring the emotions down a little bit and say that this reminds me of for those of you who have seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, this reminds me of the scene when May tells Azula, "You miscalculated. You see, I love Zuko more than I fear you."
Mm-hmm.
In this moment, Gabe has miscalculated. What he doesn't realize is that Sally loves Percy more than she fears him.
Yeah.
And now that Percy's out there as a demigod, going to Camp Half-Blood, I gotta imagine that that's another layer that's adding on to her being like, no, I can tell you no, because suddenly the one thing that was making all of tolerating you worth it is slipping away.
Yeah. And Percy, as he's like feeling all this rage, Gabe is just laughing in his face. It's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. This is a 12-year-old kid who realizes that his mother has been getting beat, and now the man is laughing at him, infantilizing him. What, punk? You gonna write on me? You touch me, you're going to jail forever. You understand? And one of his little cronies says, come on, he's just a kid. And then Gabe mocks that friend, and the other friends all laugh like idiots too. And Gabe says, I'll give you 5 minutes to get your stuff and clear out. And then I'm calling the police. And Sally is pleading, saying, Gabe. Gabe says, let him stay gone forever. He ran away. And Percy says, I am itching to uncap Riptide. But even if I did, the blade wouldn't hurt humans. And Gabe, by the loosest definition, was human. Which, phenomenal line,
Yes.
but actually seems incorrect by the logic of the books. Unfortunately for us as a species, Gabe is one of the most human humans out there.
I know. I love when Rick slips in little political statements.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe represents all of the worst things about humanity, and I know that him throwing garbage on his own floor is not necessarily littering, because it's contained. But it is the type of behavior that litterers would also hold up. And we know that Rick has presented this environmentalist look upon the entire novel. We've seen it. Everything Gabe does just hammers home other previous points about what the worst humans do. It's well done, and I would say I love it, but like it's awful. It makes me mad, but it makes me mad in a way that is poignant.
Yes, it
And
is.
then
This entire bit is it's fucking gut-wrenching. There's no other way to
yes,
put it. I
exactly.
was not expecting to feel these feelings and emotions in the penultimate chapter of this, again, middle grade fiction fantasy book. Genuinely was not.
And then Percy goes back to his room after telling his mom it'll never work out, not as long as Gabe's here. He's made up his mind. Weirdly, he's swapped positions with Annabeth. He's
Ah,
learned from her, and it's very notable that this happens in a chapter where she isn't around. Annabeth's stepmom is what pushes her away. And here, Percy is starting to realize, you know what, in some small way, Annabeth made the right choice. And even though Sally is perfect, if she's going to stay with this person, it is only going to make my life miserable. I can't do this. And that's when he finds Medusa's head. And it reminds me of the line when he says, I am impertinent.
mm-hmm.
Because his first instinct is impertinence. His
Yes.
first instinct is, I'm going to use this. I'm going to go turn that man to stone. I could solve all her problems.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, just it's heartbreaking. It is genuinely this entire section. It's this rapid oscillating between like excitement and anger and sorrow. And Percy is, again, a 12-year-old. Let's just keep remembering that. And he is, and I feel like we talked about this in one of the earlier chapters, taking on a very adult role that he shouldn't have to. But
Yeah.
he is. He is. Because there's no other choice. He says it'll never work out, not as long as Gabe's here. You're exactly right. He has learned a lot from Annabeth, but that's one. That is one of them. It's not going to work out for him. Obviously, Gabe hates him, but it's not going to work out for either of them. This is bad for both of their lives, and he knows that. And Sally is still, she's nervous and saying, I'll take you to work with me. And in the fall, there's another boarding school. And Percy just goes, Mom. And this next part literally fucking shattered me. Just says, she lowered her eyes. I'm trying, Percy. I need some time. And you just see her as, again, she's this paragon. She's perfect. She's a queen. She won the favor of one of the most powerful gods just by sake of how wonderful she is. And she has given all she has for her son. And maybe that's not something I could appreciate as a kid, but fuck, do I appreciate that now. I mean, the weight of a mother's love and just giving everything.
Yeah.
It's incomprehensible. I genuinely, I struggle to form words around the level of selflessness that it encompasses.
I mean, it's interesting because it plays off of the conversation with Poseidon. It builds from there, but these could be two different chapters. So it's very interesting that you
Yeah.
give them the juxtaposition to put them right next to one another.
Yeah. I
Guys,
really
go
do
read
like
this chapter.
I know, read the chapter. It's really good. But I do like how you mentioned that this could be two separate chapters because it really, I noticed that too. I'm like, oh, we're still going, but it works. It works so well. This is not just chapter of Percy goes to Olympus and then Percy goes back to New York. This is Percy reconciling and dealing with all aspects of his personhood, his godly side, his mortal side, his mother, and his father. And it is immaculate how well it's done.
Add on top of all of that, that I think part of what also works toward keeping this as a cohesive chapter is the tone. We've talked about the tone when he was on Olympus was different. That hasn't changed yet.
Yeah.
It has maintained that more serious, down to earth level of grand importance. It's just transitioned it from a war of the gods that could destroy everything to one woman fighting for her life, for her independence. And Percy, again, a 12-year-old, having to play his part in that and how fucked up that is.
Yes. There is a world in which I actually turn on this chapter and don't like it because it gives the wrong message. So let's keep going forward and I'll get to why I think the chapter is perfect in the message that it gives.
Yeah.
So Percy, he's looking at this cardboard box. It's the same one. It has his message on it. To the gods, Mount Olympus, 600th floor, Empire State Building, with best wishes, Percy Jackson. The words return to sender on it. So we know what it is. It's Medusa's head.
Yep.
He says, I can fix your problem. Do you want Gabe gone? And Sally says, it's not that simple. He says, it can be. Tell me. I know he's been hitting you. Do you want him gone or not? And Sally very meekly, she hesitates, nods almost imperceptibly, and says, yes, I do. But I'm just trying to get up my courage to tell him. But you can't do this for me. You can't solve my problems. And then Percy looks at the box again. And he says, I can solve her problem. I can slice the package open, plop Medusa's head on the poker table, take them all out, just turn them into their own statue garden right there in the living room. And he says, that's what a Greek hero would do in the stories, I thought. And that's what Gabe deserves. And I like that he says that's what a Greek hero would do because we, Connor, have talked about, in a sense, heroic does not always equal good.
Nope.
Heroic is specifically fine-tuned and focused violence at the problem.
Yeah.
Chop down whatever's in your way and keep moving. Hit him over the head with a big-ass club and keep it pushing. And Percy, again, showing that he is a caring soul. That I was wrong about Percy Jackson. He's not a psycho. He has a heart.
He's a hero.
He's a hero. He's a true hero. He's thinking about the underworld again. He's thinking about Gabe's spirit drifting just listfully and endlessly in the fields of Asphodel, are condemned to a horrid torture behind, barbed wire in the fields of punishment. And he's wondering, did I have the right to send someone there? Even Gabe. And I'm thinking, wow, that's profound.
Yes.
That's a profound thought. Percy is weighing out a sense of right and wrong, and should he be judge, jury, and executioner? And Percy comes to the conclusion, a month ago, I wouldn't have hesitated. But now, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. But here's where the chapter sticks it. He says, I can do it. One look inside the box. He's never going to bother you again. Percy's like, fuck it. Fuck this guy. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you even though I have my reservations because of what I've seen. And Sally says no. She is now declaring. She's not saying, hey, no, we shouldn't do this. Give me more time. This is not her bargaining. This is a command from a mother. No,
Yep.
Percy, you can't. And we get this beautiful back and forth where Sally is finally, she is now seen, Percy has idolized her for so long, but now he has a new perspective on her. He says, Poseidon called you a queen. He hadn't met a woman like you in 1,000 years. And Sally starts getting flustered. Very fair. And Percy says all the right things. You deserve better than this. Go to college, get your degree, write your novel, meet a nice guy, live in a nice house. You don't need to protect me anymore. Let me get rid of him. And Sally is crying and she steadies herself, says that Percy reminds her of Poseidon, his father. She said he offered to stop the tide for me once. He offered to build me a palace at the bottom of the sea. He thought he could solve all my problems with a wave of his hand. Which, brief aside, she deserves all of that and more.
Yep.
And Percy says, without hesitation, what's wrong with that? Because you do deserve that. And I love this. I love this. I kept saying this is where it sticks the landing. This is actually where it sticks the landing.
Mm-hmm.
Her multicolored eyes seem to search inside me. She's looking into his soul. I think you know, Percy. I think you're enough like me to understand. If my life is going to mean anything, I have to live it myself.
It's really good. There are 3 points in the novel. There is the beginning, when Percy, if he had been given the head, he would have used it to turn Nancy Bobofit into stone. Someone who probably did not deserve anywhere near that level of grand punishment. Then there's the middle, when he has the head, and he says, you know what? I'm going to send it to a bunch of people that it won't affect. I am impertinent. But that's less impertinent than just carrying it around and turning anyone in his way into stone. And then there's here, where despite loudly saying that he is impertinent, he chooses to do the not impertinent thing. He removes himself from the situation. He says, I am not going to fight with Gabe. It is not worth my time. So he's not going out of his way to create conflict. He chooses not to use the head on his mother's behalf. Yes. And he makes a choice and is very clearly a different character. But what is so good about the moment is Sally then has to choose to be impertinent. They meet in the middle. At the beginning, we talked about how they were both really actually wanting to be closer, to find that middle ground. They found it here in this moment. He lets her fight her battle. He does not have to be the proactive actor in the situation. And she takes it into her hands to resolve this instead of watching and waiting in fear for Percy and what his being a demigod might bring. In a weird way, her using such a demigod coded weapon, the head of Medusa, is also reflective of her own acceptance of his new life as a demigod.
Mm-hmm.
It is all immaculate.
Yeah. And the chapter, this a heavy chapter. Again, as we've said, this is heavy shit. Ends on the only way I could describe it is a celebratory, like, fuck yeah note.
Yeah.
Which is Percy says, I've gotta go. I'm gonna go to Camp Half-Blood. Sally is like, how long? Forever? For the summer? And Percy again allows the choice to be hers. He says that depends. And they have an unspoken agreement. They hug. She kisses his forehead and she says, "You'll be a hero, Percy. You'll be the greatest of all." And Percy looks at his bedroom. He feels like he's probably never going to see it again. Gabe is an asshole as he's leaving. And Percy fights back this one little twinge of doubt. It's like, am I leaving and not saving my mom? Like, can she really handle this? And so Gabe once again brings up that fucking meatloaf. "Hey, Sally, what about the meatloaf, huh?" And Percy looks at Sally, and there is a steely look of anger in Sally's eyes. He said, "I thought that maybe, just maybe, I was leaving her in good hands after all. Her own."
Yeah.
And Percy gets to leave, seeing his mother as the Spitfire she is, which is saying, "Sure, yeah, meatloaf coming right up. Meatloaf surprise." Gives Percy a wink, and the last thing that Percy sees as the door is swinging closed is Sally staring at Gabe as if she were contemplating how he would look as a garden statue.
Too good. Man, what a great chapter. What a great chapter.
Connor, we'll do our little kind of actual end of thought chapter thoughts once the
Yeah.
myths are done, but I'm willing to say this might be my favorite chapter.
Ooh, it was good. It was real good. I'd have to sit and think on it.
Mhm.
'Cause, man,
Yeah. But
there
hey,
are some other really good ones
why
too. Whew.
why don't we sit here at the poker table?
Whoa, no. Let's go outside. Let's get out of this shithole. We'll go sit on the
Oh, what?
steps and wait for a cab on our way to Camp Half-Blood.
That's fine too. But I had a really good hand, Connor. I was gonna play it.
That's fine. You can play it against Dionysus later. Yeah, no, we're not sitting in there. All right, let's do some myths, huh?
Let's do it.
Talking about a stinky ass apartment. Let's start by talking about a beautiful place on top of a mountain, shall we? Olympus, home of the gods. At this point, we have already established that the earliest primary sources we have for ancient Greek mythology are Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. Unsurprisingly, these works that are littered with the gods are also littered with references to the home of the gods, Olympus. Man, I'm still fired up from the chapter
I
itself.
know. Take a breath. Take a breath.
I know. It's so weird to just like jump right into it. But one of the descriptions I found in the Odyssey that I felt best represented what Olympus is supposed to be is this description right here. So saying, the goddess flashing-eyed Athena departed to Olympus, where, they say, is the abode of the gods that stands fast forever. Neither is it shaken by winds, nor ever wet with rain, nor does snow fall upon it, but the air is outspread clear and cloudless, and over it hovers a radiant whiteness. Therein the blessed gods are glad all their days. I take
Sounds
away,
divine.
it sounds divine. I take away two things from that. Number one, that this might be the reason that Camp Half-Blood never gets rain. It's a
Mm.
little bit of Olympus magic, a little bit of you're kind of like gods. So you have to live on Earth, but you get a little bit of the godly magic, the protection from the elements, which also appears one other place in the Blessed Isles. It's kind of interesting. Apparently, ancient people were like, what would heaven look like? I wouldn't get rained on. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
that's
heaven would
it.
look like.
Which is so funny considering a lot of other civilizations would be like, the rain would be so bountiful, we'd always have water. Like, yeah,
Yep.
fuck the rain. Paradise
Two
is there
very different
done.
peoples.
Uh-huh.
And that's actually one of very few references to Olympus that takes the time to describe what Olympus was actually like. I've pulled a few others for us, just to help paint a picture. In the Homeric hymn to Heracles, we can find this description, which actually seems to contradict the previous description. It says, "Now he lives happily in the glorious home of snowy Olympus, and has neat-ankled Hebe for his wife." Or, perhaps, consider this description from the Homeric hymn to Hermes, where the other gods are assembled and celebrating Hermes' birth. There was an assembly on snowy Olympus. Well, that's interesting. I thought we were just told there's no rain and snow never falls on it. So why is it snowy? Well, we're going to jump forward just a little bit in time from the works of Homer. In the 5th century BC, Herodotus published a work that very clearly described Mount Olympus as the tallest of the Thessalian mountains. Well, while over the course of millions of years, mountains have been known to move and change with the surface of the earth, they certainly do not move in a mere few thousand years. So today, Mount Olympus is actually a national park. It's one of the most popular tourist destinations in Greece for those with a penchant for adventurous hiking. And as such, you can see it on the horizon, and it is often snow-capped, hence all the descriptions of snowy Olympus. However, it also seems to sit above the clouds, based on where it is and the other elements of the geographical location, the proximity to the ocean and other such factors. It frequently has a ring of clouds that sit below the peak, so that you can't see the peak, and presumably such that the top would be a cloudless paradise free from weather. Kind of interesting.
That is neat.
Mount Olympus is also the highest point in all of Greece. It is 2,917 meters, or 9,570 feet tall at its tallest peak, making it, as I mentioned, the highest point in all of Greece, or the 15th highest point in all of Europe. I'm grabbing out my soapbox now, Jack. Okay?
There he goes. Don't fall.
I mentioned that today Mount Olympus is actually a national park. And you know what? I love national parks. They were invented here in the US.
They sure were. Thank you, Teddy Roosevelt.
Your government, if you live in the US, is trying to sell public lands, including and primarily made up of land that is included in your national parks. You own them just as much as every other US citizen. Don't let them do that. Call, be mad, be angry. National parks are beautiful monuments that preserve history that has been around for thousands of years. Mount Olympus may be in Greece, but you can see how much history is contained in a place, a beautiful mountain that sits on a horizon. For me, Olympic National Park is where I went on my honeymoon. That holds a special importance to me. Other national parks are on ancient sites that people who lived here on this land far before I did, or you did, found very important. And today they are still preserved as some of the most beautiful places on Earth. Don't let them get thrown away.
Here, here. Let's be impertinent, folks.
I'm stepping off my soapbox now, but I'm pissed. That's just for Jack, man. I'm pissed.
I know, man. It sucks.
Hey, everyone. It's Connor, and you may have realized that some significant time has passed since this episode was originally recorded. I'm editing it today on October 11th, 1 week before it's going to go out, and I wanted to interject for a brief moment. I left my frustrated rant in the episode, despite the fact that the language calling for the removal of protections from our public lands did not make it into the final version of the spending bill, grossly called the One Big Beautiful Bill. However, since then, the current administration has reduced environmental protections for 175 million acres of public land and is planning to do the same for an additional 87 million acres. While it is not one of the main themes of the novel, Riordan puts forth a clearly pro-environment message in this and his other works. I've made a donation in the name of the show to both the National Parks Conservation Association and the Climate Foundation, both of which are linked below. Another great way to contribute to the protection of your local community is by donating to your nearest or dearest National Parks Conservancy, such as the Rocky Mountain Conservancy here in Colorado, also linked below. This planet belongs to all of us, and we have a duty to protect it. So get out there and be impertinent. Anyhow, back to what I was talking about. To talk more about Mount Olympus, few other details. Other descriptions and stories, because Mount Olympus does get referenced a lot, can reveal some other major details to us. Olympus is, of course, home to the gods, and as such, it is stated among a couple of different works that it seems to feature palaces for each of the Olympians and even many of the other gods. Zeus's in particular seems to contain a grand throne room and a large, often golden throne, as opposed to platinum. There was a central meeting place for the gods where they could discuss, debate, disagree. And of course, all of Olympus is clad with opulence. Plenty of food and drink, notably ambrosia, food of the gods. And of course, everything is often described as being clad in precious metals: bronze, silver, and gold. Fun fact, the tallest mountain in our solar system is actually named after Mount Olympus. Olympus Mons, which is just Latin for Mount Olympus, resides on our planetary neighbor Mars. It's actually a volcano that we believe last erupted 25 million years ago. It is 22 kilometers tall, or 13.6 miles, or 72,000 feet tall. And that's if you measure from Mars's datum, which is basically sea level, but Mars doesn't have a sea. That's 2.5 times tall as Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth. And it's actually even taller than I just said, because you see, it sits in a crater, which is below Mars's datum, which means the mountain itself, even though it rises 22 kilometers above the datum, is 26 kilometers tall in totality, or 16 miles when measured from the plains below. Just to make it abundantly clear how big that is, the base of Olympus Mons forms a footprint that is roughly the same size as the entire country of Poland.
Damn. Connor, that's great and all, but I thought this was about myths. These are just cool science facts.
Am I not allowed to give cool science?
I think you're allowed to do whatever you want. I'll give you that.
Science facts. All right, throw the science facts
cool
out.
science
Time to talk about myths.
All right, hooray! Back to the stuff that matters.
Yeah. Let's talk about drawing of lots. So, on theme from today's chapter, I've selected a passage from the Iliad where Poseidon himself tells the story of the drawing of lots. We're talking about it today because Percy was thinking about how Hades got the short stick, or the short lot, I guess you could say. I'm sure you've heard the story before. The three gods all pulled lots and figured it out. And the quote from the Iliad is very short. 3 brethren are we, begotten of Kronos and born of Rhea, Zeus and myself, and the third is Hades, the lord of the dead below. And in threefold wise are all things divided, and unto each hath been apportioned his own domain. I verily, when the lots were shaken, won for my portion the grey sea to be my habitation forever. And Hades won the murky darkness, while Zeus won the broad heaven amid the air and the clouds. But the earth and high Olympus remain yet common to us all. And that's it. That's the whole story straight from the primary source. But interestingly, that's only one version of the story.
Whoa!
You see, in Hesiod's Theogony, he presents a different explanation for how the gods were given their domains. He writes, "But when the blessed gods had finished their toil," referencing the end of the Titanomachy, "and settled by force their struggle for honors with the Titans, they pressed far-seeing Olympian Zeus to reign and to rule over them, by Earth's prompting. So he divided their dignities amongst them." So in this version, Zeus is deemed the strongest by Gaia, and therefore the best fit to rule. The other gods agree, and presumably, he, in his wisdom, therefore chooses the domain that best suited each of the gods, hence he divided their dignities amongst them. I think this is interesting because it shows a discrepancy in how people can look at not just the gods or nature, but at life and various other things. In one hand, there is a version of the world where even the gods do not get to choose their lot in life.
Mm.
Fate has decided for you, and your choice is meaningless. But in another, a wise king makes the best choice, and you still don't get
Mm.
to choose.
Damn. So I guess, yeah, what would you prefer? The hand of fate or the hand of a wise king?
Which meaningless is best for you, the peasantry? Kind of interesting.
That is
It
pretty
doesn't get talked
interesting.
about too much because it seems like it's probably one of those myths that, again, people were like, yep, I'm told it to my son and he told it to his child
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
And me personally, I'd throw a wrench in that. I'd be the king and defy fate. So, like, what then?
Phew. I
Yeah, I
think
didn't
you
think
have
about that.
very, very angry old ladies with some scissors and thread coming after you.
Nah. What are they gonna do?
I didn't say they'd catch you. I just said they'd be after you.
They're like, all right, we gotta stop knitting this sweater. This guy's pissing us off now.
And so that is the story of how the three main gods, or perhaps all the gods, were given their domains.
Neat.
Which brings us to our final myth. I want you to pay attention to that pin I put in earlier.
There it is. I'm looking at it.
The Imprisonment of Kronos.
Ooh.
At the end of the Titanomachy, when the Titans were at last all defeated, Zeus imprisoned the Titans. We know this. Some of them were given horrifying, awful things. I'm looking at you, Atlas, holding up the heavens. But Kronos had a very specific punishment, especially in the Percy Jackson lore. Let's read the passage from the Theogony that tells of Kronos' imprisonment, shall we? It reads, "The gods bound them in bitter chains when they had conquered them by their strength for all their great spirit. As far beneath the earth as heaven is above earth, so far is it from earth to Tartarus, for a brazen anvil falling down from heaven 9 nights and days would reach the earth upon the 10th, and again a brazen anvil falling from earth 9 nights and days would reach Tartarus upon the 10th. Round it runs a fence of bronze, and night spreads in triple line all about it, like a neck circlet, while above grow the roots of the earth and unfruitful sea. There, by the counsel of Zeus who drives the clouds, the Titan gods are hidden under misty gloom, in a dank place where are the ends of the huge earth, and they may not go out. For Poseidon fixed gates of bronze upon it, and a wall runs around it on every side. There, Gaius and Cottus and great-souled Obriareus live trusty warders of Zeus, who holds the aegis. And there, all in their order, are the sources and ends of gloomy earth and misty Tartarus, and the unfruitful sea and starry heaven, loathsome and dank, which even the gods abhor. Which is a bit
Wow.
flowery and vague, but in
Uh-huh.
case you weren't clear, it means that Tartarus is one heaven's distance beneath the earth. They put a fence of bronze around it, and then they put 2 more because it's in a triple line all about it like a neck circlet. It's buried under earth and sea. Poseidon himself fixed the gates of bronze. And then they put and the three wardens, Gaius, Cottus, and great-souled Abriarius. These are 100-handed giants, some of the strongest creatures in all of Greek mythology. Trusty warders of Zeus. That is all of the work that goes into guarding the Titans deep in Tartarus.
Yeah, sounds like they'll never get out.
And I'm pulling that pin out. Because while I have strayed from presenting the Percy Jackson version of events as episodes have gone on, I must inform you, in the original version, Zeus never chops him into tiny pieces.
Oh, shit.
That's just a Percy Jackson thing. There's
Really?
no primary source that ever mentions Zeus chopping up Kronos. That's normally just a thing that happens to Uranos.
What? That's crazy.
I couldn't believe it. I thought for sure. But no.
Does Zeus at least chop up Kronos' balls? I have a vague recollection of that. Or is that Kronos also doing that to Uranos? Because he does all the
That's
chopping.
Kronos doing that to Uranos. He castrates Uranos, he throws them in the ocean, and in some versions, that's how we get
That's
Aphrodite.
Huh.
Remember when we were talking about the Blessed Isles?
Yeah.
Kronos rules that. Eventually, they
Yeah.
just let him out of prison.
That's
They
true.
say, all right, you did your time. You get to rule the best place in the underworld.
Yeah, I guess he couldn't do that if he was all chopped to bits, huh?
Which then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, he couldn't do that if he was chopped to bits.
Huh.
Once again, Rick is making darker lore than already
Yeah, I was gonna say, what the fuck was that all about, Rick?
And that's it. This was a big chapter full of heavy stuff, so I kept the myths kind of short and light. And then I still soapboxed during it. My God.
Hey! Woohoo!
What a
Well, hey,
chapter. What a chapter.
it was so good. I feel like I need a nap now, man. Oh my god. That genuinely alright. I'm sure we'll do a full rundown of like a tier list for the chapters. At this point, I want to do that with you, Connor.
Oh
I
yeah,
am
we'll do
fascinated
that
to
in our
see where
book
things
recap
stand.
episode.
Perfect. I do think that in terms of the best, like, isolated chapter in a bubble, you can only give this chapter to somebody to make them want to read the book. I still think it would be Antium's Guardian
Medusa.
Emporium.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of distilling what Percy Jackson can provide and does provide, it's that chapter. But in terms of the kind of shit that I was feeling while reading the book, man, this took the cake. This took it. Montauk was up there, but that was also me filling in gaps a little bit, and you and I kind of like going back and forth talking about childhood, nostalgia, and relationships with moms and all that stuff. This just hits on so much more real world sad shit.
Yeah, this has all of the punch of Montauk with all of the earned emotion of the
Yes.
novel's conclusion, which gives it more detail, more weight. You're not filling in the blanks like you were saying. It's hitting you right in the face with the detail and saying you have to look at it.
Yeah. And we get to see in a very beautiful way throughout the entire chapter multiple times how Percy has grown properly, not how he deals with these terrifying monsters and threats in terms of how he survives, but how he lives. We get to see how Percy chooses to live, and it is just, oh my god, more. I just want more. I just want so much more. And this is what I was talking about. This chapter had what I wanted last chapter. I think it was last chapter where I mentioned I was a little disappointed in the boat ride back just kind of being like glossed over, because there's all these big,
Open questions.
questions and concepts and emotions and feelings that I know Rick is great at writing, and I know I want to see Percy grapple with and deal with and come to terms with. And so, I don't know, maybe I should give that chapter a point back because this is where it happens. I don't know. I still feel like we could have done it both times, but still, like, this is the shit that I wanted. This was it.
This was everything you were asking for, and then some, and done so well.
And it's so insane. And this is just a testament to how good the writing and the character work is, that this is a chapter where Annabeth says, like, nothing. Grover is barely in it. The through line is Percy dealing with his parents and the surrounding environment and issues that are stem from the. I don't even know if I'm making sense right now. I'm like fucking rambling. I get so excited thinking about it. But yeah, this
You're good.
chapter was literally, it was phenomenal. It was peak. I would go so far as to say I think it was a perfect chapter.
I have no notes. This was great.
No
I
notes from the
so
Oracle.
enjoyed no notes from the Oracle. Damn. Yeah, no, this was a great chapter. It was super enjoyable. It was really heavy hitting. It made you feel things. And man, what a way to arrive at the end of this book.
Yeah.
One chapter left,
Mm-hmm.
and we are going into it with such profound feelings, and I don't think we're slowing down.
Yeah, I don't think so. But the ride is almost done. Penultimate chapter completed. Just one more to go. I don't know about you, Connor, but I am both equally excited and a bit sad. I'm sad to see this book slowly going into the rearview mirror.
It's really bittersweet, but
It is.
that is funny enough in reference to all the fear of the looming Kronos. That is the looming passage of time. But we do get to talk about Luke a whole bunch next week.
Yeah! Woo!
So join us then. If you thought we had a lot to say this chapter, chapter all about Percy and Luke, oh, we're about to have a lot to say. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support our content, please be sure to leave a review, share with your friend, and follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Until next time, this has been Notes from the Oracle. This was a long, really good chapter, and I know we're both probably winded after that, but I have to mention one thing, and I meant to bring it up, and I couldn't find the right time during the episode. Jack, what day is it?
What day is it? Oh
What day
my
is it?
god!
It's the summer
literally-
solstice!
Well, it's almost. I think tomorrow's the solstice.
Nope, it's today this year.
It's what? It's June
the
20th is the
this year.
solstice? Wait, why? Why is it the 20th this year? I didn't realize that could change.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. We talked about this.
That's true. That's so true. Oh my god. You're right!
I know!
Crazy!
Isn't that
That's
cool?
insane. That is wild. Oh my god. Not gonna be pertinent at all when this episode releases. But holy shit, that's crazy.
Look, whether or not it's pertinent when the episode releases, I am taking that as some level of divine circumstance.
Yeah, holy crap.
We're doing the right things, man. We're recording on Friday. We normally record on Thursday.
On Thursdays.
And by the nature of the universe, we had to record one day late this one time, unintentionally, and that has led to us recording on the summer solstice.
Wow. Literally finishing the quest. Oh my god. Oh, that's so dope, Connor. That's so sick.
I know.
I'm so glad you
I
noticed
know I don't
that.
normally... Right! I don't normally deliberately put things in these after-episode chats, but I know there's some of you still listening. I know you're hearing this in, like, December or some shit. You guys, this is so cool.
It is. It's really dope. They're going to be like, yeah, happy Thanksgiving. What the fuck are you talking about?
Summer solstice. Are these guys okay?
Oh my god. Yeah, dude, I can tell. I don't know that I was like being the most clear this time around. Mainly because I feel like I was getting too excited. Like I was literally starting to stumble over my words. I was like, I don't know. It was just, I think I said, my brain started to like short circuit. I was getting so excited. But this chapter was, and I think this episode was a really special one. I don't know, at least for me. And that really cements it. The fact that we're doing this on the solstice really
Yeah.
cements it.
Yep.
Even though I was rambling and babbling like a baby and tripping over my words and only half finishing, my thoughts, I think this was the most fun. And I have fun with every episode, but I think this one is going to be one that I recall being like, man, I'm so glad we did that podcast.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I am taking this as some sort of cosmic alignment that says, yep, you're on the right path.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That was a fun one too. But
It was.
man, heavy, long.
Yeah, story of my life.
Oh my God. Just gonna hard cut it there. That's the end of the episode.